Hi everyone, it is Lori here, and I have a super exciting video today, especially for me because this is like probably my favorite thing in the whole entire universe. It makes me so happy, and I've always worked with plants, but this year, like on our deck, I've made this crazy, just like botanical garden type, like little oasis outside, and so I'm pretty addicted to plants, but even more so this year, and I really try to pay attention to taking care of the plants. And then also we got like an outdoor couch and a fire pit, and it just looks so beautiful. There's hanging baskets everywhere, which I will do a tour of at some point, but for today I actually wanted to kind of do a haul. I know hauls are not a big thing anymore, but what the heck, I'm going to do a plant haul because I am so excited about all of the plants that I got, and I just want to be able to, if anything, to like look at this later to see what they looked like when they were small. And I actually went to a local nursery, Heartland Nursery. I love that place. It just makes me so happy every time I go into it. And yeah, I like to buy from them, even though they are more expensive than places like Lowe's and Home Depot and places like that. I just feel good when I buy from them. And then they also have smaller plants that now, they didn't used to have like mini plants, but for a plant lover like me and someone that grows plants, it's perfect because it's cheaper, not as expensive. A lot of times the nurseries are quite expensive. So this China doll plant here, a couple of things about this. I guess this can get quite big, which you see how big it looks right now. The leaves are really pretty. What I read is it likes indirect light, but they can be fussy sometimes. Usually it prefers between 65 to 75 Fahrenheit. It doesn't like drafts, so don't put it anywhere that's going to be drafty, and then if that's a word. And they don't like change, so if you repot it, a lot of times what can happen is the leaves can fall off, but just give it time, don't worry, it usually will grow back. And you also don't want to over water it because it can actually get some root rot. And you can actually add sand and perlite to this one to loosen the soil. So that's this one. This next one, as you can see here, these are these little mini ones that I was talking about. You can kind of see there. Just so pretty. This was $3.99. This is called a butterfly, and I'll try to say it. It is a butterfly Syngonium, basically an arrowhead plant. This you might be familiar with. We typically used to seeing it bigger. You can see why they call it an arrowhead plant. Don't let your dogs and cats eat this. It can be a toxic plant. They actually do okay sometimes in lower light, and you don't want to put them in direct sun because they actually can get some sunburn. So, pretty, very pretty, right? This is actually called a purple passion plant. And this one is actually kind of a nostalgic plant for me. If you kind of look at it, you can see that it's got almost like a velvety purple green color to it. But I just love this one because I think it's just such a unique, I mean, if you turn it, the velvety colors kind of change a little bit. It's like you can kind of see the purple in it, and I just think that's so cool. So I just love it. It just kind of brings me back memories for me. Apparently it says that orange yellow flowers appear in the winter. I've never had that happen with the other plant that I had, but I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to try to find the best soil for it. Jasmine. If you have ever had a jasmine plant, this is more of the viney type plant, and it honestly, in just one day, it seems like it's already growing. And I've had this kind of plant before, and they're fairly easy to grow. I don't have it anymore. It actually died on me, but I think the reason why it died, I had it for years, but I think what happened is that I actually put it in too big of a pot, and that is a thing. If you're new to plants, you don't want to take a plant, let's say if you have a plant, if you just want to put it in a pot just a little bit bigger than the size of the pot that it's already in. If you put in too big of a pot, then that creates a problem with the growth, and sometimes it won't grow very much bigger, and if it does, it's very slow, and the plant just doesn't seem to do very well. Studying about the jasmine plant is that it's actually the national flower of Indonesia. Is that right? If you are from Indonesia, please comment below and let me know if that's right. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Jasmine plant, usually you want to give it full sunlight up to 4 hours a day, and it's usually in like tropical, subtropical climates, and so yeah, it kind of likes that and it thrives in that kind of temperature. You want to fertilize the plant in the spring just before new growth starts to appear. The vining jasmine I have is kind of prone to spider mites, which usually you can put like neem oil, Neeme, or horticultural oil. I don't know very much about that, but I did read that and I thought that was kind of interesting. You can also grow jasmine from the cuttings. I've never done that before, but that might be something I do in a video. Because yeah, this plant is just, even though it's kind of crazy and it's kind of wild, it's kind of all over the place. When you get the flowers, they're like star-shaped flowers and they're white, and the fragrance is out of this world, and it makes the plant, I mean, you can just smell it from everywhere. And I just remember it was such a delight when it would, as it goes back and forth there. It was just such a delight whenever it would bloom. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to this one, and because it is a vine, I probably will need to get some kind of something to let it trail on, so either a lattice or something like that. The next one is my goldfish plant. Now, this one I bought for like $5.99, which I think was a great deal up here. The leaves are kind of waxy-like, and I believe that helps protect it from the sun. And then in here, like I said, guys, my nails are all dirty and all that from the plants, but you can see the little orange flowering there. And this is really cool because they call it the goldfish plant, and it usually tends to bloom in colors of like red, orange, and yellow. And they do really well in hanging plants, and they usually need about 13 hours of bright light a day. So yeah, so you want to avoid the direct sunlight with them, but I think it seems like with the waxier leaves that they do really well in a little bit more light, I've noticed. They bloom the best in the spring and the summer. During that time you want to actually use a high phosphorus fertilizer, so a liquid fertilizer like 10-30-10. And you want to do this every 2 weeks because that will help to bloom. It does like a moist environment, but if you overwater it, that actually can cause some problems with causing it to not bloom. And then of course in the winter, you want to kind of cut back on the waterings. And then what you're also supposed to do, once the goldfish are done blooming, then you want to pinch them off. And that's actually, deadheading like that is pretty common in most flowers. If you pinch it back after the blooming, then it encourages like a bushier growth, so it will look a lot thicker. And this is just such a pretty bloom. Can you imagine? I mean, you can just see the little orange poking through there. Can you just imagine that being all over the plant? And I actually have seen it all over a plant before, and I just absolutely think it's amazingly beautiful. So this next one I'm absolutely excited about. This is called the Chrysandra and orange, or the firecracker flower is what I heard. It usually blooms from April to October, and it's actually a cousin of the hibiscus. And it's crazy, when I first looked at it, I was like, because I have a hibiscus, and this looks exactly, the leaves look very similar. And so I was like, man, this really looks like a hibiscus. Even like the little almost blooming before it blooms, it looks just like that in the hibiscus as well. This is actually really cool because it's native to Sri Lanka and southern India, and it's actually a tropical plant, which does not surprise me. Just like the hibiscus. It likes light shade and a rich peat-based potting soil with excellent drainage, which is going to be the best for us. I feel like I've seen this in movies. I can just imagine this getting big and lush, and I have a green hand, and so I can totally do this as long as I get the right soil, but I am so excited about that. I could just see that getting big and just having blooms like that all over. So yeah, super excited about this one. This next one here was another little mini. You can kind of see what it looks like here. And there were lots of different colors. So I have another ornamental pepper outside that is multicolored, and they're not quite as fat as that. But I thought I'd add a little bit of variety to my color in my garden, and this was just bright, so I thought it was really cute. It was only $3.99, so I just wanted to get another one because I think the colors are great. With ornamental peppers, a lot of people have the question, probably one of the most commonly asked questions about it is, can you eat it? And you actually can, at least based on what I read, but do some more reading because I don't want to be responsible for your diarrhea or whatever else you have going on. These are, I would probably stick with just the color, in your garden and enjoying them rather than eating them, because I heard that the flavor is not great, but either way, I don't know if I would necessarily be eating them. I don't think I'm going to try that. So, but that's what I read. So, and I believe this is called a polka dot begonia. And when I first looked at it, I didn't realize it, but then the more that I look at it, it makes sense. The leaves, as you can see, are kind of pointy looking. And if you know what a typical begonia looks like, they're pretty easy, pretty common flower and annual, but this is something that will be great for a hanging basket. They have these large, dramatic spots on there, kind of silvery spots, and then this will end up having white flowers. And this is new. I don't think I've ever had one of these before. So I just thought this was really pretty. Supposedly they come in several different colors, but I actually did read that it's highly fragrant, and of course it's attractive. Supposedly you want to deadhead all of the flowers after they're done, so I guess it helps to continue to let it bloom. And it says that it likes usually 6 hours of sun a day. So I just like that fuchsia color. It's very pretty. I think it will make a great addition to the colors on my deck. On to my next one. This is probably a fairly familiar plant to most of you. If you've ever seen this, this is called a prayer plant. You can see. And then it actually, I didn't know this. I've had one of these before. I don't think I did really well with the soil, but it actually does bloom. And if I remember, it either has white or purple flowers. I seem to think it's purple, and they're small. It does tolerate lower lights, and I do seem to remember this because this seems like a plant that I had earlier on, maybe in my dorm days, and you can kind of see the little opening there. I read something where basically it kind of follows like a circadian rhythm, and when nighttime, then they either close up or they turn upwards. So, and then when the daytime comes, then it opens back up, and that's a really cool thing. So if you like a plant that kind of moves and does things, or changes throughout the day, this is definitely one. And this is also another nostalgic plant for me because, like I said, I had this early on when I didn't really know much what I was doing with plants, but I've always loved plants, and I thought this was a great one. It's usually overall pretty easy to grow. It does like high humidity though. Sometimes you'll have dragon. So let's take a look here so you can see with the flower. You're probably familiar with this. So pretty. And these come in so many different colors. I don't know how much. I think this is probably $5.99 or $4.90. Actually, it was probably $4.99. The thing about the snapdragons, I did not realize that this is a perennial. It says on here annual, but then I read somewhere else that was a perennial. So if you know the difference, I really thought that this was an annual, but we will see, I guess. I really don't think it's a perennial, but that's what one place said, is a lot of people will put these in pots and containers, and they're just so beautiful. They really, really are. Moving on to the Peperomia plants. Hopefully I'm saying that right. This is actually a fairly big species that they have a lot of different kinds of variety. So I actually want to show you a couple of different ones that I got. So this is one kind here, and this is one kind here. I actually think that I had this one in a really small little version like this, little like small pot version like this, but what happened is we had some raccoons that got on our deck and then they knocked it over, and it still kept on living, but it was having a hard time. But I really was so interested in it. I don't know what it is about this. It didn't have these little tentacle antennas here like this, but I just think that's just such a cool plant. This is the Peperomia rosa, and it was $6.99, and I just really like it. I don't know what it is so much about this. I don't know if it's, I just don't know, but I just think it's a really cool plant. I like glossy plants a lot of times like that, but also it just has, I don't know what it is that just really interests me about this plant. It says it can be propagated from any part of the plant except for the roots, stems, or even leaf cuttings can grow a root if in proper conditions. So this is one of them. And the crazy thing is when I had the plant that got knocked over, the same one as this, one of the leaves stuck and it seemed like it actually was growing. So I thought that was really interesting. Another Peperomia is this one here. And these can actually be found naturally in the rainforest of Brazil is what I read. They don't usually grow too big. And so another thing, you want to make sure not to overfeed them. They don't like heavy fertilizer. So this is really cute. Pellonia, trailing watermelon Pellonia. So how cool is that? I saw this and I think it was like, I think this actually was $3.99, and I thought it was such a great deal that I was like, I can't not have that. And it works really well in trailing baskets, and it's called trailing watermelon Pellonia. And it's actually a type of begonia, which shocks me. It almost kind of looks like an animal. If you look at it, like, it's crazy. It's very hardy looking, but the stems break very easily. But like I said, I think I got it for like $3.99 or actually maybe $4.99. But it was such a great deal, and I can see this being so beautiful and so unique to my garden that I'm so excited to put it back there. Yeah, so I'm really surprised, but I can kind of see it by looking. I guess it doesn't really bloom, or if you know anything about begonias, they usually tend to bloom, and they're usually very bright, very vivid, but this doesn't necessarily. I think it said that it doesn't have a significant bloom, so nothing like what you'd be expecting with that, but I'm sure it's still pretty. They like consistently moist soil, and you can propagate them from the stem cuttings, and they are resistant to most insects and disease. The next one I got was actually for my son. My son, I told him that he could pick out a couple of cacti, and he picked out this one here, which they had several different colors. You've probably seen this. This is a pretty popular one here. But I wanted to get him into liking plants and kind of getting interested in them. But he picked this one particularly. And with this one, this is actually called the ruby ball cactus or moon cactus. And it obviously needs fast draining soil. It is specifically for cactus, and I think I also read that it's good for succulents as well. So we're gonna try this baby out. There's lots of little baby ones, which I thought was really cute. This one looked the healthiest, and this one also, this cost $4.99. So the next one, and this honestly, it doesn't have a name on here, but this looks like a philodendron to me. Like it really, like a variegated philodendron to me. Even the way that if you can kind of see here, even the way that the little roots come off like that, this really looks like philodendron. So if you know anything about philodendrons, you see these a lot in offices, and they grow like crazy, and they're good in low lights. So I'm almost certain this is what this is, but I don't know why they advertised it like that, but this is super cheap. $3.99 for this. I'll tell you what, I had just a normal pot one from somewhere that was like 15 bucks. So I was like, I can do big things with this, and these are so good. I mean, you really can neglect these. I don't neglect my plants, but you can neglect these a little bit more if this is a philodendron. On to the final one, and actually this one, I don't know what this is or what the name of it is. It looks very familiar to me, and they kind of had it in the tropical section. See if you can name this plant for me, because yeah, I don't know what the plant name is, and I couldn't find it, but I know this plant. It looks very familiar to me, and if I can remember it, I'll put the name up on top. But I bought it actually over by the cacti area. It almost reminds me of like how oleanders look a little bit, even though I know that's not an oleander, but the leaves almost look like an oleander. So it's just really interesting. I thought it was really pretty, really cute. It was only $5, and so maybe some people think that's a lot, but I just thought it was so cute. So as well, one of the things that I had to show you too for my birthday, because my birthday was recent, is my husband got me a little succulent little arrangement, and I thought it was so pretty, and he said he got it for a really great price, so I thought that was wonderful. So look at that. Look at that. Isn't that the prettiest, coolest thing ever? Yeah, I know that I'm gonna have to repot this. I know that this is not gonna do well in there. I will tell you something funny, but I can keep most plants alive and revive them, but when it comes to succulents and cacti, sometimes I'm not so great with it for some reason, and I don't know what the reason that is. I think maybe it's the soil. That's really where I want to get my game strong on, is the soil, and I'm trying to do that, trying to get things like the perlite and the peat moss and things like that. I'm going to start trying to work more on that, but I'm excited to plant them and see how they grow, and that's my favorite thing ever. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and also give this video a thumbs up if you like videos like this. And maybe in the future, probably what I will do is do more, not such a big haul, but maybe more particular, like what does this plant like, and how do you grow it, that type of thing, because that really is more for me too, to be researching these type of things, because I like to know the names of my plants, and I also like to know how to take care of them, what's the best way to take care of them. So yeah, so stay tuned for that, and also see our other videos. We have lots of different kinds of videos, and